Welcome to the Vet S.O.S. Veteran Entrepreneurial Spotlight. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S. Lifeline. The Veteran Entrepreneurial Spotlight is sponsored by Spearpoint Solutions. Spearpoint Solutions is a one-stop shop for leading-edge products, services, and training from multiple vendors, from AI training to corporate gifts and much more. They have everything you need to help your organization thrive in the modern economy. Check out all the great, valuable offerings at spearpointonline.com, and remember to use the code VETSOS on anything you purchase there. That'll help us continue our mission of improving the lives of those who have served. Today, we're sitting down with Dan Singer, owner of Phase Line Business Coaching. In 2007, he has worked with multiple entrepreneurial organizations in sales, business development, and leadership roles. In 2014, he began working in a business that ran on EOS and was afforded the opportunity to be a part of that leadership team. In this role, he was able to leverage the skill set that he was developing as an infantry leader in the Marine Corps Reservist and help grow the business from $14 million to $20 million, ultimately selling to private equity. Realizing he had a genuine passion for helping entrepreneurs get what they want out of the business, he knew that EOS was the best way to do that. Today, as an EOS implementer, he coaches and teaches the leadership teams of entrepreneurial organizations in the same way that he does his Marines, so that they have the skills, tools, and resources necessary to be victorious on the battlefield of business. How you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Outstanding. So we're obviously not going to jump into the transition part. You're still in the Marine Reserves. But definitely fascinated in having a discussion on that down the road when you do transition to talk about that entire process. So instead of that, let's jump straight into the entrepreneur piece and what made you decide that you ultimately wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think a lot of people have conception, people in the military very much conforming and, obviously following orders, and there's a component to that. I think the underlying piece of it is really being passionate and bought into the mission, the core values, the culture, the commander's intent. And what I found was on the civilian side, working for other businesses, I wasn't getting fulfillment, right? There was always sort of something missing there. Had this seed in the back of my head for a long time that, I think I could do better, different, something that was all me. And just got to a point, I think, that most entrepreneurs get to where they're like, all right, enough's enough. I've got to make that leap, make that transition, as scary as it is, and take full ownership of this journey. And so for me, it was just, not wanting to continually live in somebody else's culture, somebody else's mission. I wanted to be the one that was setting that, making sure that all the hours that I was putting in were going to come directly to me and my family.
That completely makes sense in my book. You got to make sure you're doing what's best for you and the family too. And entrepreneurship is a great pathway to take. So what has been the best and the worst part so far?
So I think the best and the worst is the same, right? So the best part of it is I don't answer to anybody. My day is my day. I do what I want. I work with who I want. I don't have anybody with any oversight. But that also becomes the really scary part, right? Because as you go through these drastic ebbs and flows and it's all on you, while it is very liberating, it becomes really scary. And so I think, really wrapping your head around, kind of that extreme ownership mentality, and realizing that, the output that you're going to get, the results from the business are directly affected by the decisions and the actions that you're making every day, and really figuring out what that right balance is to maintain that tempo. I think the short answer to your question is the best and worst is it's all on me.
Can definitely appreciate that as well. And we've heard that a couple times now, because everything starts with you. So, if you drop the ball, you drop the ball, and you can't really go fire anybody.
Yep.
All right. So, have you participated in any veteran-related or non-veteran-related entrepreneurial programs to help you start or continue to build your business?
So nothing veteran specific from an entrepreneurial standpoint. I had a really robust network before I made the leap. The EOS community is great because I'm not jumping into just sort of this from scratch idea, right? This is a proven system, proven set of tools that have been around for 20 years. There's an entire support community behind that, which has been unbelievably helpful. So I'm not totally on an island isolated, right? I've got some resources that I can lean into. For me, the biggest thing has been really strategic and specific about where I spend time in terms of networking. So I've found some really good networking groups that I've been able to leverage. Just became a sponsor, a strategic advisor partner with EO Long Island. Those guys are great. Really a holistic community for business owners. So if anyone's listening that's been thinking about getting involved with them, I would highly suggest it. And like I said, a couple other local networking groups, being really intentional about where I'm spending my time, and really understanding, I read a book, 10X is easier than 2X, and really leaning into wants versus needs, what type of clients I want to work with, and focusing my time and efforts in those specific areas. Along with that, though, within the veteran community, it's something that I'm really passionate about, and have continued building a network with a lot of nonprofits around by me. One of my clients is United Veterans Beacon House. So they're a nonprofit that supports sort of end-to-end needs for veterans with primary focus on housing, short-term emergency all the way through long-term. And now they're working on a elder care facility. So definitely staying tight within that network. But as far as specifically veteran-focused entrepreneurial groups, I haven't. And that's one of the things that, I think there's a bigger need for. One of the things that I did earlier in the year with Marine that I served with, they started a networking group called Rally Point Long Island for veteran business owners because of that exact reason. We were like, there's not really much around in terms of support, for that community. And we sort of doubled down on that culture, right? Being a veteran, you understand that you're different from civilians. There's just shared experiences and bonds that we've gone through that they don't get. And so it creates this subculture. And the same thing exists in that entrepreneurial community, right? Most people that work for an employer don't understand what it's like when you can't make payroll and you got to pull a mortgage on your house. Or you're having cash flow issues. It's all on you. So we sort of looked at that and said, let's take both of these subcultures, put them together, and we're already going to start with a level of trust and understanding that's so far up on that scale, where we can really just help each other out.
Yep. No, it's definitely a unique community and something where there's definitely needs, right? And some organizations fill those needs very well. Others maybe not so well. And there's also that great sea of goodwill where we have so many organizations that, probably need to see a lot more of them starting to partner with each other and things like that to, fill all those gaps. But so let's talk about phase line business coaching. Tell us about it. What are you doing?
Yeah. So phase line business coaching, that's my business. Like I said, I was introduced to EOS in 2014, and it was monumental. For most entrepreneurs, the first time they read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, it's this really eye-opening experience where they're like, holy shit, this is a simplified version of all of the fires I'm putting out every day, just really brought down into a cohesive way of running my business. And so when I finally made the decision about 2 years ago that I wanted to start my own business, there was no question in my mind that it was going to be an EOS implementer. So I had some connections within the community, reached out, went through the process, opened up the entity last summer and went full steam at the end of last year. And so all I do now is I work with entrepreneurs and their leadership teams, and help them get what they want from their business. Everyone that I'm working with, I look for people that are growth oriented. They want more of something. Doesn't have to be revenue, although it generally is. But it could also be control, free time, processes, alleviating their people issues. There's something that they're frustrated about and they're unsure how to get unstuck. And then I look for people that are coachable, that are open-minded, willing to be honest, able to be vulnerable with themselves and each other, and have those really difficult conversations to start to identify, what are those friction points? What are those things that are holding you back? Let's start getting them on the table, addressing them, and then working through them. And it's unbelievably rewarding, right? Because a lot of times I'll have a client that I start with, and it's, the founder who is working in the business more than they probably should be. They're sitting in multiple seats. They're working 80 hours a week. They can't go on vacation without being on their cell phone. They're not going to their kids' games. And so as they get stronger in this process and really lean into EOS, they start being able to delegate and elevate and have processes and systems in place where now all of a sudden it's impacting their personal life. They're able to go away for a month and completely disconnect and start having relationships, deep relationships with their family. So this is life-changing stuff that we're doing.
That sounds fantastic and much needed, I'm sure, with the clients you're working with. I mean, we've all heard about the workaholics and not being able to get away from work, and especially problem with entrepreneurs not being able to focus on the things they need to focus on as they do scalability. So that's fantastic. So what's the best place for our audience to connect with you and learn more about your business?
Yeah, so a couple places. You can go to the EOS worldwide website. Just Google EOS Dan Singer. It'll take you to my microsite. You can go on Instagram, Dan Singer EOS, and then look me up on LinkedIn. So any of those are good ways to connect. What I really try to lean into is, there's other implementers around, right? So anytime I meet someone that's thinking about EOS, what I always tell them is meet with a couple of implementers, find who you connect with, who your people are. That's the implementer that you should go with. And that's really with my Instagram is not flooded with EOS stuff, right? It's things about me that'll give you a good indication of the type of person that I am, things that are important to me, my personality, my values. And so that's probably a good first place to go, because I'm not the right fit for everybody, might not be the right fit for you. That'll give you a good indicator.
Smart business tactic. It gives them a way to check you out and make those decisions on their own.
100%.
Like that. All right, Dan. Well, we want to thank you for joining us today on Bet S.O.S. And on behalf of the entire Bet S.O.S. family, we want to thank everybody for tuning in today to check this out. You can find us on all the podcast platforms as well as YouTube, and we ask that you subscribe and follow us, so we continue to put out some great information and so you don't miss anything. And remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the Bet S.O.S. Lifeline.